Do you know what it means to be a motherless daughter? Did you know you can have mother loss without mother death? Mother loss comes in many forms, and Motherless Daughters Ministry is here to help you navigate through your particular mother loss. While you are unique, you are definitely not alone. We have 20 years worth of pearls of wisdom to help you on your mother loss journey, and we are sharing all of these pearls with you through this very podcast, Nurturing Words, Voices of Experience, sponsored lovingly by Motherless Daughters Ministry.
Hello, I'm Gladys Bell, your host. Today, we have an interview with Dr. Lacrecia Dangerfield, the founder of Reimprint Your Life. She is a licensed mental health therapist, clinical supervisor, and leadership wellness counselor with a heart for women navigating loss and purpose. Her personal journey includes experience with burnout, brokenness, and breakthrough, and fuels her resolve to facilitate healing and growth for leaders and clinicians. Because she believes that, quote, leadership flows from wholeness, not burnout, unquote. Her work centers on creating safe spaces for restoration and empowered living. As a spirit-led practitioner, she helps women heal, lead, and live whole. We hope you will be encouraged by this heartfelt conversation as she discusses her experiences working with women who have experienced various types of mother loss. If you are blessed by our ministry and would like to give back through a donation, please check our show notes for a link. As a nonprofit working to reach motherless daughters, we appreciate your support. Every donation helps make a difference in providing content for motherless daughters. Let's listen to the interview today with Dr. Dangerfield.
Well, hello and welcome to all of our listeners. I'm so happy to have Dr. Lacrecia Dangerfield as our guest today. Dr. Dangerfield is the founder of Reimprint Your Life, Wellness and Leadership, and she is a licensed therapist and leadership wellness counselor with a heart for women navigating loss, identity, and healing. And as a spirit-led practitioner, she helps women heal, lead, and live whole. With deep compassion and clinical wisdom, she supports women navigating grief, identity, and purpose. And her work centers on creating safe spaces for healing, restoration, and empowered living. So welcome, Dr. Lacrecia.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're so glad that you are here joining us. And we were talking about this a little earlier, but you and I, we go way back
Yes.
to the mid-90s.
Right.
When we both worked in corporate America together. There we were working for a global bank, probably straight out of college. I know I worked pretty much right out of college.
Okay. Yeah, it was close. Yeah.
And if you're anything like me, I was feeling very unfulfilled and disillusioned after a while.
Right.
But
It's like, oh, I can do this work, but what am I really supposed to be doing?
Exactly. And we were part of a multi-month leadership development program. I remember us doing that leadership program together.
Right.
And yeah, I think that's where we began to get to know each other a little bit more. And so then fast forward, we later left that company and reconnected to offer an empowerment boot camp for leaders. Remember that?
Yes, I remember that. I think I still have one of the notebooks that we did.
That was so much fun. We just had a heart to want to serve and support others. And showing up. Women. Yes, empowering women and men. And so now we are here again. So we're just so excited on this road that we've been traveling, I tell you. So tell us a little bit about yourself that we might not already know and what led you to the work that you do every day.
Oh, that's funny, because the funny part is it's like when you were talking about finding fulfillment and being in corporate America, realizing that was not it.
Right.
But I never imagined that I would be doing the work that I'm doing now. Because I always tell people when they ask, they're like, how did you get into the counseling field, the leadership development field? I was like, one, the counseling field I was not looking for, because when I was in undergrad, I was like, why do I need this whole psychology thing? I was like, this does not make sense to me. And I was like, so I need to pass this class, get it over with, and and then move on
Right.
because I'm going into the business world. And so, but then asking that question is like, what is it that you're asking? And because I'm a believer, it's like asking guys, like, what am I
Mm.
really supposed to be doing when I grow up? Even though I was full grown when I was asking
Right.
question. And it led me into the counseling field. And I've always had a heart
Mm.
for women. Like growing up, I had a heart for like listening and wanting to make sure that women Bible studies and worked in women's ministry at church. But then
Ah,
so kind of made my business. It was like who you gonna focus on, who you gonna see. And it was seeing women. And then when I was in my doctoral program, because I was in leadership,
okay.
not seeing that counselors saw themselves as leaders, which led me to
Mm.
write my dissertation around leadership in the counseling profession and looking at how they perceive that and just always have done things with leaders. And so it all
Wow.
just now has kind of come together in my business is working a lot with women leaders, clergy, other
Wow.
clinicians on helping them walk out their healing path. Because if you're going to do this work of not only counseling, but leading others, whether it's in
Mm.
ministry or in corporate America, you need to be a healed leader. To work,
Yourself, you have
to
to be
work with
healed
other people, yeah,
yourself.
because we see a lot of people that are not healed, and it shows up in those spaces. So being able to create that safe space,
Oh, that's wonderful. Wow, that you actually found that niche, to support
hmm
women who are leaders and that
yeah,
in all kinds of backgrounds, but that are also serving and helping others,
yes.
clergy, clinicians, like you said, and so forth. What do you see as the most important focus of your work?
The most important focus is how to help women show up authentically,
Uh,
even though when they've been through different things and how life has gone.
mm,
Like grief is just not when you lose somebody. It can
mhm.
be the loss of a relationship. It could be a loss of, like, grief is about transition. And so pulling that together to be like the focus of my work and then the work that I do with creating safety because I know what it's felt like to be in an unsafe space.
Mm.
And so for me, it's like, how do I create safety for other people by holding space for them?
Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
and so that is like core, the core of my work, even working with clinicians, helping them to create safety for themselves because they hold such I look at our work as being sacred because sometimes we're the only people that somebody has told some of their biggest secrets. So we're creating
Mm.
that space for them. So I'm like, as you hold space for your clients, I'm holding space for you to be able to
Mm.
show up in as like your highest best self.
Wow, that's such a capacity building stance that you are taking when it comes to supporting women who are in that role of
Yeah.
supporting other
Other
women,
people. Yeah.
other people, other
Yeah.
people. Yeah, that's beautiful. And as a spirit-led therapist, it sounds
hmm
like, it sounds like you help women create safe inner spaces to grieve. And you mentioned that grieving
Yes.
is not just the loss of someone in particular. It could be the loss of something as well,
Yes.
and what was lost while still embracing, who they are becoming. It sounds like
Yes.
that's a place that you're holding for people. So tell us the ways that you are a bridge builder in the work that you do. I think when we talked a little bit before, you mentioned being a bridge builder.
When I look at being a bridge builder, it's about connection. And so sometimes for me, it's standing in the place of building the bridge between mental health and
Mm.
faith spaces. How do we make that connection? So you need somebody to
Yeah.
kind of stand in the middle. They can kind of look to both sides and and for me, it's having my foot in both worlds. How I look at it's like I have my foot in both worlds. I have my foot in the mental health space. I have my foot in faith-based spaces.
Mm.
And I'm like, how do we connect, join together? Because at the end of the day, it's about the healing of the people.
That's right.
And so that's like being a bridge builder. I always laugh too, because before I started out in corporate America, when I was in high school, I was going to be an architect,
Oh,
and
you're
I
going to
was
be an
go-
architect.
and I was like, oh, I'll build things. But I learned, and I had a revelation. It's like I build people.
There you go.
And I build connections. I'm the person that usually is the connector from one person to another. Even in my work with therapists, it's like if I know something or know somebody,
Yeah.
I can share it so that so we can bridge that gap.
I love that. I love how were able to still
Mhm.
pull from your interest of
Mhm.
becoming an architect and seeing how,
Mhm.
okay, wait, you're still building. You're
Yes.
it may
Mhm.
not be, 2 by 4, or schematic blueprints and
Yeah.
all of that, but you're looking at building someone's life,
And
helping
help.
them have the
Mhm.
scaffolding that they need, and that's so important.
Yes.
Wow. I love how you talked about merging basically having that bridge between your faith and mental health, and how you have one foot in each area to
Mhm.
keep you fully planted and knowledgeable to help people. It sounds like to help people translate,
Yes.
that language really.
What it can look like.
Oh, that's great.
And
That's
it always goes back to safety.
okay.
It's helping people feel safe in the spaces that they are. So bridging that gap of, because some people have experienced unsafe situations in either of those spaces, and being
Mm,
able to help other clinicians to be that connector of teaching people, like, it's still safe. You can be safe
yeah.
in these spaces, both spaces.
Both and, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, and that really kind of segues us nicely into talking a little bit about the Motherless Daughters Ministry. And for those that might be new to the ministry listening, the Motherless Daughters Ministry is a faith-based organization that serves and supports women who have lost or missed the nurturing care or love of their mother. And the mother could still be living, it could be through
Yeah.
emotional absence, it could also be through death, but it could be through a number of ways that they just miss that care and love. And so many women in the Motherless Daughters Ministry carry both invisible and visible grief. And from your experience, how does unresolved loss shape a woman's identity and leadership over time?
What I've seen in my work with women that are missing, that have missed out either through the loss of through death, or through
Yeah.
just like that emotional absence, is sometimes that they are emotionally absent.
Hmm.
They're seeking that connection, but they don't know how to actually operate in it. And it leaves a hole. It leaves a hole in that they may not know that where it's coming from. It's like, why do I respond that way? Or why does that like poke me? And it's like,
Huh.
hmm, that is something I'm missing. I'm missing that belongingness. I'm missing that connection that I would have had with another woman, that nurturing. And
Yeah.
sometimes when a person doesn't feel like they're nurtured, they come out in that defense mode. It's like
Hmm.
what we call sometimes within our work is like that the fight, flight, or freeze mode. So like they're always on edge, on go,
Okay.
because
Hmm.
they haven't been nurtured to say, you're okay. You're
Right.
okay. It's okay for you to be who you are. Or it's okay to ask for support. It's okay to be vulnerable.
Hmm.
And a lot of times what I see is women that have missed out on that. It's hard for them to be vulnerable.
Hmm.
They tend to sometimes want to control the outcome of everything.
Hmm.
And it's like, well, I just need to make sure everything is okay. And it's like, are you making sure that everything is okay because you want things to be okay, or is it that you want to control the outcome because
Yeah.
you don't want to have to experience that hurt? Do not want to have to experience that vulnerability, because vulnerability can be scary,
It can be. Yeah.
and it can make you not want to trust people, especially who's been betrayed. And our attachment styles are also connected to that. It's like if you didn't have it and you didn't attach securely, it can show up as an anxious attachment. It can show up as an avoidant attachment. And that pursue withdrawal cycle starts in relationships and even in leadership. We can see some of the biggest and the brightest leaders, but you can tell if they do not have a secure attachment because it makes it hard for them to even have secure relationships or be a safe place for the people that they lead.
Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting observation when it comes to leadership, right? When you're shoring up these leadership skills when people are doing that, but if they have a mother wound, for instance,
Yeah.
and that has not been resolved, or they may not understand because of maybe at the ministry we do something called the age of loss, where
Okay.
we understand that at certain ages there are things that if you lost your mom or lost that nurturing care at a certain age, right? And like you mentioned, the attachment time, maybe at a younger age, when you're an infant to 6 years old, you need that. And if you don't get that, then that's going to change the trajectory of your life in terms of how you navigate with people. So that wonderful ways to learn about that at the ministry for sure. And just noticing, you mentioned a lot of patterns that you see often in women who grew up without emotionally present mothers. I loved how you talked about the patterns of how they manifest, how things show up, possibly even people. And then, how can awareness of those patterns become a pathway to wholeness rather than shame? That's the other question. Yeah.
It's about awareness. You said it. You become aware. That's the first
Okay.
point. And I look at that as usually it's like the first point of healing. It's like noticing what is it that continues to happen it may not be with the same people, but it looks the same.
The players are different, but this
Right.
scene looks
Like
awfully
it's
familiar.
very familiar. And so when you become aware
Mhm.
of what it is that keeps tripping you up, and you're like, okay, I'm aware of this, that I don't trust people,
Uh,
or I don't trust myself to be myself in front of other people. It's like, so what is it about that? And where did that come from? Digging into the
Interesting.
root and just
Hmm.
being able to ask questions about, like, why does it look like this? What is this pattern? What keeps showing up for me? And then saying, what do I need to do about it? And just the last piece is like healing, I believe one takes place in community.
I
You can't
agree.
heal by yourself. So you have to get some support.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it takes a certain amount. Do you think it takes a certain amount of bravery and courage to be able to self-reflect and to become more aware? Because then you're having to come to grips with whatever
Mhm.
reality that is in front of you. How
Oh
does
yeah.
that, yeah,
Oh
play
yes.
into
It takes a lot of it takes you being vulnerable with yourself, but also it
it?
takes courage
Mm,
to look in the mirror
yes.
and say, you know what? Hmm, this keeps happening to me, or I keep feeling this way.
Mm,
What is it? What is that? What
mhm,
is that conflict? What is that nudging?
mhm.
Or what is that feeling that I keep experiencing? And looking in the mirror and saying, I need to look at me.
Yeah.
And when we look at ourselves, when we turn the mirror on ourselves, it brings clarity.
Yeah. It does. It really does. And I love what you said about, self and then moving to community as well, how we don't heal in a vacuum. We heal, alongside others who might
Yeah.
be along that same journey,
Yes.
possibly too. And I really love the name of your organization because, the reprint,
Mm-hmm.
re-imprint.
Reprints. Yeah.
Yes. Because when you think about re-imprinting, it's like starting afresh with a brand
Mm-hmm.
new direction, mindset, and narrative. So how do you
Yes.
think women who feel shaped by maternal absence can begin to re-imprint healthier beliefs about their own sense of worth, belonging, and purpose.
This is what I share with women that I work with, and I'm a firm believer in it. And it's part like it's what some people think about, like from a cognitive behavior piece, is looking at what is it that you're thinking. What is it that you're thinking about yourself, or what is it that you believe that you're missing? If you can capture your thoughts about it, check to see if it's true. Because sometimes our narrative is given to us by somebody else, or it's a narrative that we've created. So we have to check that out and say, hey, is this really true about me? And then taking that, if it's not true, or if it's not what you want to be your truth, what can I do to change that? Because we know when we do certain things, and there's work in neuroscience that like we keep repeating, or we keep doing, we can create new pathways.
True.
And it starts making a looking different. And so I believe that transformation still happens because people are like, oh, I can't change. Yes, you can. And especially as for me being a believer, is the whole renewing of your mind.
Yes,
It
yes.
changes it can, and when it says renewing of your mind, you are rewiring
It's changing.
those neural pathways. You can do that.
Wow. Wow.
And so it's getting clear about that, about who, because even when we don't, if you're someone that grew up and didn't have that mother presence, or she was present but she was not present, what was those emotional things that you needed? What is it that you felt that you did not get? And there's work out there about reparenting yourself. And I've had people like, how can I reparent myself? It's like, what did you need? What was that? What in you that little girl needed? Was it that she needed a hug? Did she need to know that she was okay? Did she need to know that she was safe? Did she need to know that she was accepted? You tell yourself and speak back to you and say, I'm safe. I'm lovable. And that's through mirror work, looking at yourself in the mirror and being able to speak those things. And it's not going to change overnight. It is like continuing to speak
Right.
that language into you and being able to say, okay, let me give myself what I didn't get, or finding safe people, safe women that can nurture you and give you that support. Because I tell some of my clients, because like they say sometimes they're like, I just need a hug. I say, well, who's safe around you
To give you that hug.
to give you that hug? Ask them. Ask them, can they, would they give you a hug? Be like, I really need a hug today. Can you give that to me? Because you need to soothe that little girl
Yeah.
inside of you that did not get that.
I really like what you said about so many things you said, but in particular, how now there's new terms out there like
Hmm.
reparenting and
Hmm.
things like that, and I think about for instance, the Motherless Daughters Ministry has been around for over 25 years,
Yeah.
and have been, and it's a huge milestone,
Hmm.
last year. And we've been in these positions to build community.
Yes.
Last year, just starting the connection and conversation circles, which will
Hmm.
ask those kinds of questions,
Okay.
of the persons that come to the sessions, and then
Hmm.
they answer them in community with each other. And these, the whole notion of building community and being together, at the Motherless Daughters Ministry, one of the things that our founder, Dr. Mary Ellen Collins, always says
Hmm.
is that we are here for you because we are one of you.
Mm.
You know,
Yes,
we
that's powerful.
it is so powerful because, we're comprised of many peers who want to
Hmm.
walk our mother loss healing journey alongside others
Uh,
who are also
yes.
on their healing learning journey.
Hmm.
And we're not clinicians, right? And many of us are walking this path just long enough, just farther out enough
A
to
little head.
coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to be able to coach and encourage and
Hmm.
teach and facilitate learning of other daughters.
We're going to take a short break to share some information. Then we'll hear the rest of the interview.
Mother loss is a lifelong grief journey. The scars go deep and the pain is relentless. It affects every aspect of a woman's being, regardless of age of loss or how the loss occurred. The hole is deep and filled with many emotions. You are invited to our online support community with the Motherless Daughters Ministry online support groups, focusing on the journey and the difficult obstacles that get in the way of healing. To learn more about our weekly support group offerings, visit us online at motherlessdaughtersministry.com.
But in your work, how does faith and clinical practice work together to support women navigating grief without bypassing the pain?
Oh, that's a very good question. Because there are some spaces, even in the faith space,
Yeah.
that it's what we call spiritual bypassing. Like, oh, just pray about it and it'll go away.
Right.
That's not true. That it's like, because grief is it's a natural part of life.
Yes. Yes.
And so knowing where you stand, one, in your faith,
Mm.
and knowing your spiritual practices. It's like, what are some of your spiritual practices that make that connection between you and whomever you deem as your higher power? And to be able to lean into that, and knowing that grief is not something that's just gonna go away after, like, oh, it's been a
Right.
year, you should be okay.
Right.
No, that gives us a place of comfort and knowing that we can continue to seek comfort
Mhm.
from whomever. Because, like, for me as a believer in Christ, it's like I go back and be like, hey, I feel I'm feeling a little bit, I'm feeling some kind of
Mhm.
way. I'm feeling some sadness. I'm feeling
Mhm.
some anger. I'm some longing.
Mhm.
Because for me is I lost my mom through death, and I was a grown up. Like they say, I was a big age when when I was,
Yeah.
but I tried those legal ease or those faith ease words to kind of
Okay.
that first year was like, oh, she's gone to a better place. She should be. That still didn't mean that I didn't feel some kind of way. And so being able to be honest
Yes.
about that, because I'll tell you, even from like my faith perspective, like last year was like a really hard year for me.
Okay.
And it had been like, it's what this is three this will I'm coming up on 3 years, but last year was like the hardest, and I was going through some anxiety, didn't know where the anxiety was coming from. Holy Spirit was like, you grieving, you need to
Mm.
work through that.
Beautiful.
And I
Wow.
was like, oh, yeah, that is what this is. But I was
Wow.
able to like make the connection. And I was
Mm.
like, you're gonna have to help me through this, because I'm longing for
Yeah.
I'm longing for my mom, because there's some things that happened that I was like, now who's my cheerleader? Because I remember one day I asked God, I said, now who's praying for me? I was like,
Oh, yes.
because like
Yes.
my mom was the person I
Oh,
knew for
wow.
sure was praying.
Yeah.
I said, now God, and then since she's not here,
Hmm.
who prays for me?
Good question, right? You
Right.
said who's your cheerleader,
Like,
and this
who's
was
my
3 years.
cheerleader?
This was three
Yeah.
years ago. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry
I was
for
like,
your loss,
yeah.
definitely. And
But I was like, yeah,
yeah,
who's cheering for me? Who's my
right.
supporter?
And that's such a good question, a good comment to
Hmm.
make. The fact that grief isn't just a one-time thing.
Oh
It's
yeah.
not a linear thing. It can come in waves and in
Oh
cycles and
yeah.
come back to us in different levels, and it can come at when we least expect it.
Hmm.
Um, and I also liked how you said that it's part of the human experience. And to
Yes.
me, humanity, like we are human,
Yes.
we are not you know, going to have these bypasses where we can just say, oh, platitudes,
No,
like,
those
like you,
don't work.
right, they don't work. And it's like, and then you feel almost like, okay, is this supposed to work? Everyone else is saying it and they're
Mhm.
saying it to me. So am I supposed to just, what am I supposed to do with this real feeling that I have? Because
Yeah.
obviously I can't take it to the people that are saying the platitudes, right?
Dudes,
Because
yeah.
they don't believe it. So, like to your point, being authentic and experiencing what we're experiencing when it's happening in real
Hmm.
time, that's to me, it's mindfulness. It's about,
Yes,
like
it
being
is.
mindful is being present in your emotion in the moment
Mm-hmm.
you have. And understanding that it is an emotion and it's a human emotion.
Awesome.
Um,
Yes.
and and when you said, who is going to cheerlead for me, we hear a lot of that kind of
Hmm.
conversation in a lot of our like support groups
Yeah.
and the connection conversation circles. And I'm myself, I lost my mom when I was really young. I was
Hmm.
5 years old when I lost my mom. And I think about Bernice King too, because I recently found
Mm.
out that she was around the same age. And you see how
Yeah.
she is, the things she's doing in her, her community to really
Yes.
uplift the King Center, and it's beautiful. But there's a parallel there because to me, I was too young to, understand what was happening.
Hmm.
But yet that same question, like where's my cheerleader? Where's the
Yes.
person that's praying for?
Hmm.
Where's my person?
Where's
You
my
know,
person?
right.
Yes.
That's the thing, your person that's
Yeah.
gonna, flip out the pictures and say how
Hmm.
proud they are, and all
Right.
of those things. And so I just love the fact that we can name it and it
Hmm.
still be okay because it's part of the human experience. And to
Yes.
have a community, like you mentioned, how people need a community. I'm really grateful that, we are in community by having this conversation for one.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
we're hopefully bringing people into community as they listen to
Yes.
this recordings and hopefully stay connected to a larger community like the
Hmm.
Motherless Daughters Ministry and other communities.
Yes.
So yeah, I love what you said on many levels around grief not being linear and it's a human experience for
It
sure.
is
Yeah.
most definitely.
What would you say to a motherless daughter who is leading others well, whether in this ministry, the Motherless Daughters Ministry, or
Mhm.
in their places of faith, in their own communities or in their homes, yet privately they feel fragmented, overwhelmed by grief or unseen? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but what would your message be to them?
My message to them would be allow yourself the space.
Mm.
Allow yourself to feel what you feel, but also make sure that you're having your own support. Because a lot of times we as women, as we as leaders, we'll
Yeah,
pour back to other people, but we forget to pour back into ourselves or have others to pour back into us.
true.
So it's okay to be vulnerable. Find you a safe person. That's I always say, please find you a safe person
Mm.
to be able that you can be vulnerable with and share what you're feeling. And then and that may be your best friend, they may be somebody or a good therapist. I cannot not talk about find you a good therapist. Because even in my own personal life, I have a therapist, but I have good friends
Mm.
that the majority of my friends have been through a space of loss. They've lost their mothers. Either they've lost them through death or they have that emotionally distant relationship.
Mhm.
I have a couple that have been that's there, but I always tell them, I said, remember, yes, she's your mom. You don't have to let your mom beat up on you. You can have healthy distance. But also think about what it is that you want. How do you want the relationship to look while she's still here? That you will not have any regrets when she's not. And then the ones that I have that have lost, we talk about it. We talk about because one of my friends was one day we were sitting at lunch and she was like, you know what? I realized not having my mother here, how am I parenting? I need some parenting advice. She was like, now who gonna tell me how to parent through this?
Mm.
And
Yes.
I was like, yeah, it makes sense. I said, because the person that you thought you would be sharing that with is not here to walk you through that journey.
That's so true. Yeah, that's some good nuggets to impart to
And they can,
people.
and they can.
Yeah. Yeah, and one question I was curious about as we
Mhm.
get ready to close too, and I want to, if you have something too to share about what's coming up next for you. But my question is, how do you work across generations in helping them to heal from trauma experienced particularly by maybe their mothers, their grandmothers, their great grandmothers, who may have passed it down to their daughters unknowingly or knowingly?
Yeah. Bridging, being able, that's a place of bridging the gap
Okay.
is like usually who I'm seeing is the daughter or the granddaughter.
Okay. Mm.
And I what we talk about is how was your mother parented? How was she mothered? Because I'm asking how was your grandmother as a parent and where did she learn it from? And then being able to look at those patterns that show up and be like, you can be the change. You can if what you didn't receive, but you don't want to pass it on to your daughter, and you can stop it now. But some of the work shows that it may not show up for two or three generations down, but you can start the change and the legacy in your family lineage now. And I think you and I were talking, and I was talking about some work that I did with relative caregivers. And a lot of times it was grandmothers having to take care of their grandchildren. And I learned some good lessons from them because from them, they were like their identity of being mom again instead of being grandmother
Ah, yes.
sometimes was challenging, but I would like, you get to pass some new wisdom down.
Mm.
And what is it that you want your granddaughter or your grandson to know? You get an opportunity to shift and change some things. And how do you want that to look? What do you want your legacy to be?
It's interesting. Re-imprinting.
Re-imprinting. Yeah.
That's what I'm.
It's interesting that's like how I came up with how the name was given to me. That it's out of some of that
Oh,
work. Yeah.
okay. Oh, wonderful. Well, in closing, if you could speak one word of reassurance over motherless daughters stepping into leadership while they are on their own mother loss journey, what would you say?
Be authentic to yourself. I know that's more than one word, but
No, it's okay. It's a phrase. It's you're allowed.
yeah, be authentic to yourself.
Nice. Yes. We appreciate that. Well, thank you, Dr. Lacrecia Dangerfield, for taking the time to be with us today.
Mhm.
This has been
Mhm.
wonderful. We have so enjoyed you, and we actually want to know what's coming up next for you that you would like to share with our audience.
One thing that I'm excited about, one is one of the things I'm excited about is that I get to do some work with at a summit that will take place in March about aligned and anchored. And it's really being able to teach a re-imprinted way to lead, which would include some of the things of helping clinicians, helping leaders to change the way they lead from a performance-based structure to being present and being who they are.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. When is that summit happening?
It's March the 13th and the 14th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's actually a virtual
Okay, great.
thing where it's going to be some sound bath, yoga, plus some teaching.
Okay, lots of
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
multimodal approaches. Yeah, well,
And
will
being
you
able
get
to
that?
connect to the body. Mind, it's
Oh,
really like
nice.
connecting mind, body, spirit. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. Will you maybe share that link with us so we can pass that
Okay.
on into with the show notes and things of
Okay.
this
Hmm.
nature for the video? But thank you very much, Dr.
Thank
Lacrecia.
you.
Yeah, I'm so
That's
glad
great.
that we had a chance to reconnect in this
Again,
way. It's been great.
again, it's
I know.
always.
Yeah, like you said, our paths kind of we're parallel, but sometimes our paths cross and then
Yes.
we get back, connected. So
Yes.
thank you so
It's always a
much.
pleasure. It's
Yeah.
always a pleasure connecting with you and collaborating with you. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, same
Yeah.
here, always. And I love I love a good collaboration.
Yes. Hmm. Yeah.
Still do. Still do.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All right. Well, on that note, I'm gonna sign off, and we thank all of the listeners of this amazing interview with Dr. Lacrecia Dangerfield, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for joining us on today's podcast. If you are in need of more nurturing words and voices of experience, we encourage you to listen to our other episodes, hit subscribe, and come check out our Motherless Daughter resources on our website at motherlessdaughtersministry.com. You can also find us on our YouTube channel and in our Facebook community, Motherless Daughters Ministry. We hope you'll come visit us, and we look forward to you joining us again next time. Until then, stay well.